Hey, what is up, everybody? It's John Nelson, and you are listening to the Starting Block Podcast. If you're looking for a show that's going to give you the insight into complete athletic development, well, welcome. You have found the right spot. Guys, our mission at the show here, our mission is to give you the tools that you need to win, whether you are the athlete, the parent, or the coach. We want to give you the tools to win so you can succeed, and that is our objective with all of the different types of episodes that we bring to the table. So let's break that down. If you're new to the show, welcome. Here's how we work. We're a little different than your normal podcast. We have 3 different types of episodes in the big picture of our show. The first type is going to be your Q&A. Q&A is where myself and my co-hosts, Mandy and Chris Scarborough. What's up, guys? Where the 3 of us, when Mandy's available, usually it's me and Chris, but Mandy joins us sometimes, where we take the questions that you guys submit to us and we'll answer them here in that episode. Those questions are going to be related to anything that's got to do with strength, speed, performance, nutrition, rehab. We'll tackle it all in those episodes. And those questions can be submitted to Chris.
Instagram, fast and agile 49.
Yeah, and you can reach me at ELP_John. I will say that we are close to having a new platform open for you guys to submit everything and go back and see show notes and all that good stuff. So I'll kind of tease that, but we're not ready for it just yet. So you can still reach me at ELP_John. The other episode is going to be our Friday Fire and Fact. That is going to be about 10 to 20 minutes of me speaking on a topic that has to do with athletics or rehab, but more along the lines of the business side of it or the mentality side of it. So it may be more motivational in nature, just something that I feel needs to be out in the open that doesn't quite fit the exercise prescription. The other episode, the final one, is going to be our guest interview. And our guest interview is where we bring our colleagues and friends on from across the globe, and they're going to share their stories of success and how they win and what they do with their clients or their patients and their tools to succeed. And that is what today's episode is. And so you probably already know, because like I say in every guest episode, most of you can probably read, and you know who our guest is today. So I would like to introduce a local legend. Trying to get a guys, I want to welcome local legend, MLB ball player, and somebody I would like to consider a friend. I hope he considers it the same way. Guys, Mr. Brent Rooker. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, good to be here, guys. I'm excited about
welcome.
it. Yeah, like I said, local legend is used loosely there, I hope so.
Oh, you are, man. Like when I say Brent Rooker, everybody lights up like, oh, wow, he's over there. I'm like, yeah, man, Brent. Yeah, he's a great dude. Yes, he's a local legend. So, no, man, for those of you who, don't know, Brent, Brent plays right now for the Oakland A's. He's been working with us for a couple months now here at ELP. And, man, we just wanted to bring you on and have you share your story a little bit and, just give us a little bit of insight into what this offseason's been like and kind of share the story of what it's been like to, been on your journey.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. This offseason's been great. From a training perspective, I feel really good about what we've done, what we've accomplished, kind of some of the things we've checked off for me heading off into this next season. Just put me in the best spot to succeed. This will be my, I guess, 6th full season in pro ball. I think that's right. 5th or 6th full season with obviously that half season after the draft, but it's been a fun journey for me. Kind of been all over the place the last 12 months. Started last season with Minnesota, and then got traded from there to San Diego. Traded from San Diego to Kansas City, and then Oakland picked me up early this offseason. So just been kind of bouncing around. Haven't really had the consistent success I've been looking for at the major league level. The last 3 years I've been back and forth between the major leagues and AAA, just kind of trying to find that spot and that team that gives me the opportunity to kind of take it and run with it. And establish myself at that level so I can stay and stick a little bit, which I think I can do, and I'm confident I can do going into this next season. But it's been fun. I'm enjoying the ride, enjoying everything that comes with playing pro ball and getting to travel around and playing different areas, different cities. So it's been a good time.
So most people, most people, I guess, unless they've been at ELP, wouldn't know how we met. And quite frankly, if it weren't for Gary, I don't know maybe we would have met one day, but you actually found out about us through GOTA. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming into this offseason, I had some buddies kind of the last year or two get really into the GOTA stuff and love it, have a lot of success with it, kind of thrive under their style of training and some of their principles. And so I was looking into doing that. Starting, mid season last year. That's kind of my plan going into the season, was kind of dive into it and kind of see what it was all about. And then I guess the week before I was heading down to see Gary initially, they posted you on their Instagram. And so I saw the tag, and I knew I recognized the account being Elite Level Performance. I knew I had seen it somewhere, not really sure where. And obviously being from Germantown, I had just seen it because you had trained a bunch of guys that I knew and played with in high school or in college or whatever. So I saw that they had tagged you and kind of clicked on it and realized you had kind of gone through the certification and were becoming well-versed in it, kind of learning it and starting to implement it in your training. So when I found that out, it just kind of made a lot of sense for me to jump over and come to you guys and start working out there. After seeing Gary initially going through that initial evaluation and assessment, we were able to communicate real well. We kind of nailed down what I need to work on, the areas I could improve, and then I thought it'd be just a perfect fit and perfect for me moving back to Germantown this offseason. I've lived in Franklin, just outside Nashville, the past 4 years. This is my first offseason back in Germantown. I was looking for a place to train, and it just kind of all worked out perfectly well. Where I saw you guys getting into the GOAT at the same time I was looking to do the same, and it just kind of worked out with really good timing.
Yeah, it really was a good timing thing, and we were talking before the show. Actually, just if Gary or GOTA guys are listening, I'm giving you guys all your credit. I'm wearing your hat right now if you're not watching it, just so you guys know. So I appreciate you guys connecting us. But we were talking before the show that, I think one of the things that I was so intrigued with about you, Brent, was the fact that of all the pro Olympic level guys, even college guys, that I've worked with, and girls, I say guys, but, everybody over the years, your knowledge on training, I was really, really impressed with. we were joking, like, you could probably train a lot of people better than most in our industry. So like what type of stuff have you done over the years? Like, we'll definitely hit on the GOTA stuff again, but like from when you went to Mississippi State to what you've seen at different levels in the league, what has the training been like?
Yeah, anything that I know, anything I can verse and knowledgeable in is just kind of a byproduct, and just kind of it reflects me being around very smart people throughout my career. I played 3 sports in high school, so obviously when you play high school football, the training and the weightlifting is obviously a little more focused on than it is just playing baseball. So kind of got a good foundation there, kind of know what I was doing, and just being a skinny young high school kid wanting to be a good football player, like, it kind of comes with the weight room. That's a very important aspect of it. And I was very, very big into it then. And then going to college at Mississippi State, Brian Neal was my strength coach there for 4 years. We have a great relationship. I'm still very close with him. He's now the head of all Olympic sports at Virginia Tech. So he's obviously very knowledgeable, and then a great resume on him. So I worked hard with him for 4 years. That first year I was at school was a big one for me, because I redshirted. And so I spent that whole spring just basically in the weight room, 5 days a week, just really getting after it, trying to get stronger, trying to get faster, trying to get more athletic. And he did a great job with me there and kind of developed that way. And then getting into pro ball, I've been around some great strength coaches, whether it's Jacob Dean, who's with the Twins. I was with him for several years. Phil Hart was with the Twins for several years. I was with him. And now I'm with San Diego and Kansas City, and I'm looking forward to getting to know the Oakland guys. But I've just been around a lot of very smart people, and I enjoy working out. I enjoy training. I enjoy learning about it. So I just try to do my best to, when I'm around these guys who have a ton of knowledge, to just kind of soak it in and kind of learn on my own, because it is something that interests me. So if it's something that interests me and it's something that's very important to my job, obviously important to my profession and my development, then I'm going to try to learn as much as I can and put in the work when I need to.
So,
Chris, go ahead. I was going to actually ask you a question, Chris, but go for it.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Well, my question kind of goes along the lines of, well, first of all, let me kind of explain who I train. I have typically middle school to high school baseball players. I got a whole bunch of baseball players.
Yeah.
At about what level were you when you realized, hey, I'm pretty good at this? I got a good shot. In other words, like, or when did you start having people start approaching you and saying, "Hey, I think you're collegiate material. I think you're pro material." When did you sort of know that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And for me, kind of at every stage of my career, I've kind of been a late developing guy, right? So growing up playing travel ball, I was never the best player on my team. I was never the best player in the area. I was always solid, obviously a decent player, good enough to continue to play at advanced levels, but I was never the dominant guy when I was in elementary school, middle school, growing up. I get to high school, and I played varsity as a freshman, but again, like I was never the best player on my team until probably my senior year of high school. I didn't have a ton of college interest until my junior season, I'd say. And at that point, up until I started getting SEC baseball looks, which was surprising to me at the time, I thought I was going to play college football. That's what I wanted to do. I thought I was probably a better high school football player than I was a high school baseball player. When you just kind of look at it. So that's what I loved, and it's what I wanted to do. And then I kind of started getting interest from SEC schools into my junior season, and really, which surprised me, honestly. And I'd tell the story. It's just kind of a joke, but Mississippi State offered me to come play baseball, and I committed very quickly because in my mind they had made some massive mistake and didn't know what they were doing. I wanted to commit before they kind of realized that they messed up and took away the offer. So I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll come play for you guys, I guess. I don't know what you see in me or what you're doing, but that works for me. So that's kind of how obviously I committed to Mississippi State like that. I get to college, and at this point in my mind, like college baseball for me is just a way to go to school, get school paid for 4 years, get a degree. I wanted to go to law school, move on with my life after playing college baseball. I get to school that first year, go through fall practices, fall scrimmages, and get like 2 hits the entire fall. And I'm like, I am in just way over my head. Like I was right. I have no business being here. I start looking at D2 schools to try to transfer out and go back and play football like at a D2 level because I thought that's what I wanted to do. That's what I could do. And then I get the have my end of fall meeting with our head coach, John Cohen, who's the AD at Auburn now. And his message just kind of looked like, we like you. We want you to stay. We think you're going to develop. We think you're going to be good. You can have the red shirt this spring, or you can transfer, go play JUCO, try to come back, kind of do whatever you want to do. And I'd made a ton of friends. Obviously, I liked the school. I liked where I was. So I made a decision. If I'm going to continue with baseball and keep playing baseball, I'm going to stay here and just try to rat it out and see what happens. So I redshirt that next year. My redshirt sophomore year, I played redshirt freshman year, excuse me. I play very sparingly. I get some at bats, do okay, don't play a ton. Go off, play summer ball, play well in the New England Collegiate Baseball League up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Come back for my redshirt sophomore year, which would be my 3rd year on campus, 2nd year playing, and have a good season. I was, I guess, 2nd team All SEC. Like I put up some good numbers. And it's at that point. So my 3rd year at college was the first time that like playing professionally ever became like a realistic option for me. So it had been, I'm 21 years old, I guess at that time. It's kind of up until this point, college baseball was just a way for me to get a degree and move on. And now it's at this point where I've developed these 3 years at Mississippi State where I started getting some professional interest. I played well that summer. Like I said, I had a good season that spring. So go into the draft. After my redshirt sophomore year, I get picked real late. I'm a 38th round pick. Minnesota Twins took me 38th round. There's 40 rounds in the draft at that time, so 38th round. So very, very late. I opt to not sign, go back to school. I go play in the Cape Cod League, have another good summer, and then I come back for my redshirt junior year, which is my 4th year on campus, and that's kind of when I kind of went off, had a real big season, and kind of catapulted up the draft and was picked pretty high that next summer. But all that to say, for me, it was always very late, right? Like I said in high school, I didn't think I had any business coming to Mississippi State. I just committed because I thought they messed up and I wanted to go there. I get to campus, I'm like, wow, I have no business being here. And then I just kind of continuously developed after that. So I think that's a little bit in a way to me. I mean, not just specifically to me, but to me and some other guys, because a lot of guys who make it to the big leagues kind of know that that's what they're going to do from, freshman, sophomore year of high school. They're kind of this super highly touted, prospect, well recruited by everybody. Get picked out of high school, don't go to college or whatever. And that was kind of different. And then I developed later. And it took just kind of more, I don't want to say hard work because I know everybody works hard, but it just kind of took a little bit more dedication for me, maybe just because I don't have the natural talent ability that a lot of guys have. And it took a little bit more learning, more adapting, more adjusting for me to kind of get where I am than maybe other guys.
Yeah, that's well. When you start really putting your time into it, I guess you almost have to choose two paths. It's either, wow, I think I really am good enough, or
Yeah,
and really go for it. Or you're like,
yeah,
hey, like you said, I'm going to go with my plan A, and hey, I'm
right,
going to go back to law school, whatever. But I guess at some
yeah,
point, if you kind of begin to realize that, hey, I've got that pro potential or whatever, it's almost like, well, I either got to kick it into that next gear, or I have to kind of go with plan A, which is,
for sure. Yeah,
whatever. So, but that is interesting because I think a lot of times we have kids kind of on both ends of the spectrum. Either they have sort of delusions of grandeur that, hey, I'm got to be the
hmm,
best in ninth grade, or else I got no shot.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
we have the opposite end of, I'm really barely making this elite travel ball team, or I have to go find, tier 2 travel ball team or tier 3 or whatever. And because I'm not good enough to play for this other team, and
hmm.
maybe they shouldn't be writing themselves off, if I'm in
No,
ninth or 10th
absolutely,
grade.
yeah. That's absolutely correct. I just being around the game for so long and playing with so many different guys, you just see guys develop at so many different stages of their career. There's guys that I played with in pro ball who were, like they signed as late round draft picks, right? And then they get the professional level, and for whatever reason, their game translates to that level of play extremely well, and they have a ton of success and they get to the big leagues and have long careers. And then there's guys who were the best players when I was 13, 14 years old, and they don't ever really make it very far in the game just because you never know when you're done developing. You never know at what rate you're developing. Everybody's different as far as mental capacity, emotional capacity, physical capacity, when you grow, when you get big, when you get strong, when you kind of grow into that coordination that ultimately leads you where you want to go. So that's kind of the message I try to deliver, is that you never really know when you're developing. And if it's something you want to do and it's something you're passionate about, just continue to pursue it, continue to learn as much as you can, and make adjustments and get better and better, because you don't really know what your ceiling is going to ultimately end up being.
Right.
Yeah, with that, you made an interesting comment. I tried to write a note down. I may not get it, verbatim what you said, but you said you felt like you didn't have a lot of natural like talent there at some point. But if you were a dual sport athlete, and you and I went to the same high school too. I'm quite a bit older than you, so I mean I know who you were playing against, in high school, and I know the athletes that are in the area. And you were obviously getting looked at by, state, as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't have the natural talent, which I guess is skill, you clearly had the athleticism, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something I try to preach to kids a lot. Because, I mean, I'm like you, Chris, we've talked about it. We have a lot of high school and middle school kids. And, Brent, you train in the morning with us. And so you haven't really run into, as many of them. But I talk to them all the time about like skill is clearly important. Like, yes, absolutely. But I feel like there's been a massive, massive push at a young age where everything has to be skill, 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 skill. And
Right.
the athleticism side of stuff is just neglected. And it's like, you're kind of a story point in case. It's like, no, if you have the athleticism, the skill will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am kind of speaking to that. Like I whenever I'm asked, I encourage kids to play as many sports as they can for as long as they can. I mean, I played all three in high school. I played basketball as well. And speaking directly to that, I know baseball is a sport that kind of people want to specialize in very, very early,
Right.
Which I don't think in most cases is a very good idea, because I just think you're missing out on so many opportunities and so many different environments that you could develop yourself as a more complete athlete and kind of hone those skills down the road, like you're talking about when you're not playing other sports. And that's a case by case basis. Obviously, if you're talking to a kid and the only sport he likes is baseball, he doesn't enjoy playing football, he doesn't enjoy playing basketball, soccer, whatever. But yeah, like just play baseball. But
Sure.
if you like playing other sports and you're good enough at those sports to contribute and enjoy contributing and enjoy playing them, I think you should continue to pursue those things and play them as long as possible, just to get that extra development as an all-around athlete.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I mean, I've shared, the story of, my stepdaughter and things like that. And what Mandy, 6th, 7th grade, she's like, I just want to play softball. Well,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Go for it.
For sure.
Yeah,
That's
play
yeah.
Yeah, but you're going to be in the gym. You're going to be in the gym
Yeah.
twice a week, basically, for the rest of your career, And so,
Yeah, I will say up to that point, though, she she had played everything at one point, from basketball to volleyball. I think she swam a little bit. Like she tried everything. And honestly, I thought softball, she was just a go-go kid. I thought she'd be bored to death sitting out, picking grass when she was 7, 8 years old. But that was the one she gravitated towards. So what do I know? But
yeah, that's the point. Like up to that age, right? Don't not play like 6th grade football because you think it's going to make you worse at baseball. If you don't want to play 6th grade football or 6th grade basketball, whatever, don't play it if you don't want to. But if you want to, don't not do it because you think it's going to be a detriment to your baseball development or vice versa or whatever it is. As long as you enjoy playing the sports, keep playing them as long as you can.
Yeah, but it's almost what we see across the country, at least here in the States. Now, maybe it's a little different outside of the States. I don't really know. But you see the integration of more technology, more tools to try to hone in on this specialization. So it's like now kids are sixth, 7th, 8th grade, and they're on, all the slow-mo video, of looking at their mechanics and, trying to break it down from mechanical standpoints. And that's what's causing flaws. And so it's like the direction of everything is the exact opposite of what, people really need to be doing. Like, we need to build the athleticism side of stuff more so than anything.
Yeah, and there's a big baseball argument around that very thing where, you always hear the old adage, like, learn to hit and then power comes later. And I think it's the exact opposite. I think you spend, as a kid, you develop as much speed as you can, you develop as much strength as you can, you develop as much power as you can, and then you learn how to utilize those tools and kind of hone them in skill-wise later down the road. I think, if I have a son at some point, the first 12, 13 years of his life, the only instruction I will give him would be, I just need you to hit this ball as far as you possibly can. Right? We're just going to let his body kind of Nikolai Bernstein it, just kind of figure it out on his own biomechanically. And we're just going to learn that develop power, develop speed, and then we'll hone those things in down the road as he kind of matures into his body and gets through puberty and all that stuff and kind of gets to a point where we know how big he's going to be. We know what his physical attributes look like as far as kind of developing him into whatever kind of player it's going to be. But I just think it's so important as a young kid to develop as much athleticism and speed as power as you can.
What, Nikolai Bernstein reference? Holy cow.
Yeah, I dropped the name on you there. Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah. But yeah, it is kind of interesting. Of course, I come from a conditioning background. So, I'm right there with you as far as, hey, let's develop, absorb force, create force, create force quickly. Mm-hmm. The whole, I'm into that whole thing. But what's interesting is that, and John and I we've discussed this at length and in detail, and we probably do it once a week at least. And that is, we have a crazy number of injuries, and not to make myself sound old, but I never saw a stress fracture ever when I was a kid, ever. Never saw it. I'm not saying it never happened. I just never saw it. We had growing pain type injuries, and we had contact injuries. Somebody hit you or you hit the ground or something. That was it. You did not have stress. Okay, maybe diagnostics weren't that great. I don't know. But I can say for certain nobody ever had back injuries like they do today. We, for example, saw this past summer, we had 28 kids. 18 of them were new. Of those 18 new kids we saw this past summer, 6 of them had some history of stress fracture or stress injury. So I don't know that it was necessarily, I don't think it was training too soon. I think it was training improperly. So in your history, whether it be at school or whatever, do you feel like that you were able to avoid most of those common weight room injuries, I guess we could say, because things are so common now? Or, have you seen it in other people, other athletes? What's been your experience with that?
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. The only two times I've missed significant time from any sport is I got hit in the hand and broke it, and I got hit in the arm and broke it. Both hit by pitches.
Contact.
Broke my third. Yeah, exactly.
Injury,
contact
right.
Injuries. Exactly
right.
what it is. Something that you just can't control at all. But besides that, I've been able to stay pretty healthy, and I like to think that that's, attributed to spending the proper amount of time in the weight room, doing what I needed to do to stay healthy. Obviously, there's a huge benefit to that. But yeah, I think I remember, especially in middle school, when people grow so quickly, you see all the stress fractures in the backs and whatever, and those are normally people kind of, I get playing the same sport repeatedly year round while growing. So you're just kind of doing the same motions over and over and over and over again, and not differentiating yourself athletically while you're going through all these massive changes in your body. And I think that's where a lot of those injuries come from.
Yeah.
I was going to kind of piggyback on that as far as contributing or I should say, decreasing the risk of injury by playing multiple sports. Like Brent just said, doing different movement patterns, different activities, different things that require different muscle groups.
Yep.
I think the kids that play different sports don't need, at least at an early age, the weight room, as much. And I've heard John tell parents all the time, when they ask about training, 11, 12, 13-year-old, man, just get outside and play as much, play everything you can. Mm-hmm. And then, we'll talk a little later on down the road. Would you say you kind of see that too in yourself, as far as having the ability to, play a bunch of different sports, bunch of different movements, and save the training for when a little bit later on, when you're starting to focus more on strength
for sure. I think I'm speaking specifically to baseball just because that's what I do, but you see a ton of those injuries from just kids at 11, 12, 13, just throwing year round, never putting the ball down, right? Just repeatedly wear on their arm while they're growing, 5-6 inches in a year at some kids during this time, and doing, a very stressful throwing motion while your body goes through those kind of changes just year round is going to be killer, and it's going to lead to a ton of those injuries. And I totally agree with what you said. I played at least 3 sports all the way up until high school, and then played 3 in high school as well. So I didn't start formal training regimen in the weight room until high school football started, which would have been when I was 14, 15 years old. That's kind of the first time I got introduced to the weight room, just because I was able to adapt quickly to it. I think because, like you said, I played 3-4 sports growing up. I used different muscle groups. I used different movement patterns in those sports, and so the transition and kind of adaptation period into a formal training regimen and formal training program wasn't nearly as difficult for me.
Right. I still, to this day, not that I'm any good at it, but I would say one of the best things in the world to develop athleticism is play defense in basketball.
Oh yeah.
Just general athleticism.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, I want to dig into the nutrition side of it a little bit. I know this off season, we spent, a considerable amount of time, dialing in, your diet. You look great, you feel great. Kind of share with everybody what you've done, this off season, and when did that become important to you? What was it like in high school?
Yeah, so much of my life until I'm going to say probably that year after I redshirted, all my high school and into early college was just spent me trying to gain weight, right? Because I was skinny, I was athletic, like I said, but I was just naturally skinny and needed to get bigger and stronger to kind of do what I wanted to do and reach my full potential. So, during the high school, obviously, it's just trying to eat whatever you can, gain weight. I get to college, start dialing in a little bit more as we kind of work with our nutritionists and our team specialists and things like that to kind of get where I wanted to be. And then in pro ball, it falls on you, right? Like you're in charge of your own career, you're in charge of your own body, you're in charge of your own diet. And in the last few years, not including this year, I would spend the off season trying to gain weight back that I lost during the season. To get back to where I wanted to be for spring training. And this past year, for whatever reason, I did a better job eating in season and didn't actually lose weight in season. So I kind of came into the off season with just the goal that I wanted to focus my nutrition and my diet on just fueling my workouts as best I could. I knew I was at a good weight. I was happy with the weight that I was at. I just needed to kind of hover around there. So I was able to kind of really hone it in on just eating what I needed to for recovery in order to get the most out of my workouts. Because, the way you program me for this off season is kind of getting into some go-to stuff naturally. It's been a little bit more cardio intensive than I've been used to in the past, just by the nature of some of the go-to exercises and some other things we've done. Not speaking to a separate cardio and sprinting, things like that, but just the weight room workouts themselves are a little bit more cardio intensive. So I've just been kind of eating in a way that lets me, like I said, refuel and recover as best I can and kind of fuel my workouts so I get the most out of them as possible. And the nutrition is another thing I like to learn about. So with the training side of it, the nutrition side of it, it's all things that I'll watch stuff about, I'll read stuff about, and I kind of like hearing different theories and different trains of thought and different thought processes on those things, and kind of just be as well versed as I can be on these different things that obviously directly affect my career and my profession.
Mm-hmm. What's it look like for you in season? I get asked all the time now from high school kids, like what do I eat before games? How do I prep for that? And so what's it like for you, in the league, nutrition-wise?
It's obviously when I am up and I'm spending time with the big leagues playing there, the food is very good. So you kind of have whatever you want to eat at your disposal all the time, which is a big perk, and we get pretty spoiled. But normally I'll try to eat breakfast. A lot of times, if you play a late game, it's tough to get out of bed before 10 or 11. I'm not going to lie. If you're not getting back to the hotel till midnight, and then you're trying to still wind down from a 7 o'clock game, you're not getting to bed till 1 or 2 or whatever it is. Waking up and eating that early breakfast is tough, but I do try to do that. And then for me, I never want to sit down, maybe post game, but anything pre-game, I never want to sit down and just eat a huge meal. So I'll eat in the morning, eat something small right when I get to the field, and maybe a snack after BP, and then like a small pregame meal or something. So it's just important for me during those days to break it down into 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, smaller meals. So I'm not trying to eat a ton of calories or a ton of carbs or a ton of protein at one time, just to make it easier on myself. Just kind of eat smaller, bigger than snacks, but not quite a full meal kind of throughout the day. Is kind of what I've found helps me feel my best through all the pregame stuff and then into the game, and stay full through the game and feeling energized when you get to 10:30 and it's at 7th, 8th, 9th inning. Just make sure you've got enough left in the tank is kind of what I found works best for me.
What are your go-tos?
Just boring chicken and rice is obviously just super easy. At the field, obviously spreads are taken care of normally. I eat a ton of bananas. I love bananas. I think they do a good job. Just kind of, it's quick energy, keeps you from cramping when it's hot and things like that. But any kind of chicken is good with me. I do prefer red meat when it's available. That's just a taste thing, so I'll eat that a ton. PB&J is always good if you're feeling lazy and don't really want to go through the whole
the Uncrustables.
Thing. Yeah, Uncrustables during games are great. I will eat an Uncrustable during game for sure. If it gets to the 6th inning and I'm hungry, I'll go hammer an Uncrustable from the fridge. Absolutely. Great.
We're going to edit that part out. School kids.
They are. Uncrustable. There's no need for Uncrustable to be a staple in your diet. But we do have them available for if we get into
from the man carrying around Captain Crunch during his workout.
Hey, I got some food in the
shouldn't cast stones here.
Then Uncrustable is not a bad option.
What about from the supplement side of things? Like I know everybody's trying to, use creatine and protein powders to put some size on it, at that age. And when did you, start supplementing with things like that? And what's it look like for you now?
I think, obviously get into the muscle milk stuff in high school and when you're trying to just something to drink after workouts or after football practice or whatever and try to get some calories and protein in. For me, it's just, now it's some kind of caffeine before workout, whether it's coffee, whether it's pre-workout, just kind of whatever it is. Just try to get a certain amount of caffeine in pre-workout, and then creatine and protein is kind of all I use. Not including, vitamin D, fish oil, all that stuff, but just strictly talking like training supplements, just those 3 things. Just some kind of caffeine, some kind of creatine, some kind of protein is kind of the 3 that I think you need to kind of maximize. Obviously, there's other things you can do, but those are just the 3 main ones to kind of maximize what you're doing.
Yeah.
The
basics, right?
Basics,
keeping it simple, the basics. Yeah. I think, a lot of young athletes think there's some, magic powder out there,
absolutely, yeah.
And it's like you're living proof it's the same thing. Like, no, it's the simple basics. Yeah. You've got to get your food in, get your food in.
I've been, obviously I had those phases in high school. I'd go to GNC twice a week and try to find some new thing that was going to, make it easy and put the weight on me that I wanted to have on me. But in the end, it's just eat enough calories. If you want to gain weight, you got to eat a lot of carbs. You got to eat more carbs than you think you do. If you're trying to gain weight, you got to have enough protein to fuel your workouts. And besides the supplement stuff like I'm talking about, just have energy before you work out so you get a good workout in, and then get the protein and creatine and recover from them. And that's really all you need.
Do you have some recovery favorites? Do you have things that you make sure you do specifically recovery, days off, days on sort of thing?
I guess be directly in season that a little bit just because we're playing every day. I do Normatec type boots a lot. I love contrasting hot and cold tubs. I do that just about every day right when I get to the field, just to kind of get the blood flowing, wake the body up a little bit. I would say those are my two things. Some kind of compression boot I do a ton, and I spend a lot of time with the cold tub and hot tub throughout the day, just kind of depending on what I'm trying to do.
All right, I have a two-part question, and I can only remember one of them right now, but I had it in the back of my head a second ago. All right, but number one, one I do remember, and that is your this is changing subjects, but is your school background in motor learning or kinesiology?
No, it's neither. I have a business administration degree and I have a marketing degree, but I don't have I was very bad at science. So I was always in high school, growing up, middle school, whatever. I was very much oriented to English, reading, literature, and then math and science is just not how my brain functions. So I tended to stay away from science-based courses and math-based courses when I could. But no, my schooling is in business. I think the kinesiology part of it is just kind of directly applies so directly to what I do and me trying to be good at what I do.
Yeah. Well, when you said Bernstein, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a deep dive right there.
No, that was, I did read a bunch of his stuff at one point in college just because during that time, I was kind of trying to reinvent my swing a little bit. I'd had this success in, like I said, my third year on campus, second year playing, I had some success, had a good season. I just kind of had this feeling or this knowledge and this feeling that I could be much, much better. I just needed to change a few things. And so I was kind of trying to reinvent my swing. And I found myself studying a lot of biomechanics and a lot of movement patterns and things like that. And that's when I kind of came across the direct wording, or the exact wording, but the body will organize itself in accordance with the overall goal of the activity, I think is what the principle says. And for me, that's kind of where the external cues come from a baseball perspective, talking about if I just tell a 9-year-old kid, hey, I'm going to toss you this ball, I need you to hit it as far as you possibly can. And that's his only thought without any other coaching, that his body's going to kind of take over and just do what it naturally feels like it needs to do in order to accomplish that goal. And ultimately that's going to be the most efficient pattern for him to work within. It's going to allow him to have the most success in trying to accomplish
which is a motor learning as opposed to a biomechanical. Yep. I mean, it involves mechanics, but yes, it's more of a motor learning process. Yeah. But I did have
obviously, I'm not well versed enough to differentiate between all the terms. I just kind of know.
It's all good. That's all good. But I did have a question, and of course, this is probably almost a cliche question, but one of my parents actually did want me to ask you this. One of the parents of the kids I train, that is, and they wanted me to ask you. I mean, so now, okay, you were a kid and you played all these sports and whatever growing up, and clearly we got a lot of people they're going to listen to this or watch this interview, and they're going to be like, well, I want to be there. I want to get to that major league level. And I, like I said, maybe I'm not the best player on my team, but I have this desire. What kind of advice are you going to give them?
I would say the biggest thing for me is just don't stop learning or wanting to learn. Right. So it just kind of gets to a point where, or I've had these different points along my career where I've been good, and obviously not the best, not great, but I've been good, very solid, and it would have been easy to kind of be complacent and just kind of sit there and be a good player. But I always just felt like I could be better, and I wanted to learn why I wasn't better or why I wasn't the best of my team. So I kind of kept pursuing this knowledge, trying to learn, watching video of guys who are in the big league, trying to learn what they do different with their swing that I don't do with my swing, watching guys my own age who are better than me, what they do better than me, why they're having more success than I am, and just kind of take those things that I learned and apply them to my game in order to continue to get better. So I think there's a lot to be said, obviously, about hard work physically, about going to the field, putting in the swings, putting in the reps, whatever sport you're playing, putting in the shots if you're playing basketball, putting in the throws if you're going to be a quarterback, putting in the swings if you're playing golf. But there's also a ton of value and just trying to learn yourself and learn what people who are better than you do different than you do, and then try to do those things, right? So it's knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, and then recognizing where your areas of improvement are, watching people who are better at those things than you are, and then trying to copy them or make what you do look closer to what they do in order to get better.
Excellent.
That's great advice. Yeah. I'm I'm like you, Chris. I thought I had one other question in the back of my head, and I just went blank. Man, we need to stop calling these interviews like this is not an interview. There's a reason we don't do this professionally. But no, I mean, I think we covered a lot of ground. I think Brent, he gave some great advice there. I mean, we've been getting after it really hard, this offseason. you're just in a few months, like just to see how your body moves compared to the way it did, I guess back when we started, September, October.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, you're moving fluid, you feel good, you're healthy. Like that's just huge, And, I really like everything that, we've put together. And I really do feel like you're getting ready to have a great season, dude.
Yeah.
Great
absolutely.
season.
I'm a new Brent Rooker fan. So yeah, I'll be pulling for you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll wrap it up. We're getting tight on time now anyways, but, man, I did want to say, like, I've talked to you, in person in the gym, but I want to put it on the podcast as well that, like, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in the facility, man. And I got to say, like, genuinely, like, this is one of the best times of my career, like having you in here, just your professionalism and your understanding of it and just your work ethic. And guys, if y'all are listening, if you need somebody to look up to, like, Brent's the type of guy you need to follow. He does the basics. He does them perfectly. And, I would say he listens to me, but I don't really know if that's true. But
no, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I learned a ton. And I appreciate you saying those things. I've enjoyed this offseason. I love what we've done training-wise, and I think I'm in a good spot heading into the season. I want to say one thing. I was listing the strength coaches I'd been around in the past that kind of have helped me learn a bunch of stuff, and I left out Dave Ray. I have no idea if Dave's going to listen, but I would be very remiss if I didn't mention with the other guys, because I've trained with him after I got into pro ball the last 4 or 5 years, and frankly, I've talked to you about Dave, but he's
yeah. That was another. Yeah, there's another one. Yeah.
He's helped me a ton. I've learned a lot from him. We've done some great things the first 5 or 6 years of my career when I was with him. And he works for my agency, so we're still very close and talk all the time. I just obviously am living here now, so I don't get to train with him as much. But I went back and was going through my mind and make sure I kind of mentioned everybody. And I would have been very upset with myself if I didn't mention Dave in that same breath with those guys that have kind of gotten me where I am, as well as sparked my interest and made me want to learn more about the training aspect and the diet and the nutrition aspect of it all. So I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. I'm glad you did.
I'm good.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. I actually had that on my note to ask you. I didn't get to it, so I'm glad you brought it back up. And I'm actually glad you did. And we'll kind of get close to wrapping the show up on this, but like, there's a lot of ego in our field. And, kind of one of the things that one of our underlying goals of this show is to try to help eliminate that. Cause like we all work together for the betterment of our athletes and clients. And, so it's awesome. Like they've done an awesome job with you. You told me a little bit about what they do. And, we have a lot of similar theories and beliefs. And maybe one day, we can all connect or even have him on the show one day and hear about his processes and theories. Cause he works with a lot of our former guys too. So it's just cool to make all those connections, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, well, that's pretty much the show, guys. It's been great. Brent, we still got a couple days to fine tune everything. And, before you head out for spring training. And, I want to remind everybody that there is a fee for the show, guys. And that fee is, we ask that you share the show. If you got value out of it, if you felt like you learned something from us, if you think Brent, shared some good information, if it's going to help you in your career, regardless of what level you're on, share the show, please, so we can continue to do this and get this information out because it's about building this community across our country and networking all these people and hearing their stories. And, it's about us winning and being better, like as a community and a country. And so share the show, guys. That's the fee. Brent, brother, it's a pleasure as always. I will see you in the morning. It's been great. Good. Chris, I'll see you soon, buddy. And Mandy, I'll see you here in a second. We turn this thing off.
I'll be right here.
All right, share the show, guys. Thanks, Brent.
See ya.